With the Manchester derby being right on the horizon, I thought I would delve into both the tactical approaches of Pep Guardiola and, as some people are calling, his protege in Erik ten Hag. There are similarities and there are differences, and obviously there's a little bit of a history between the two. So first off, let's have a little bit of their backstory and the records. And it's the Battle of the Baldies, although one's got a really cool Bond villain beard and one doesn't. Ten Hag joined Bayern Munich in 2013, taking go-ahead Eagles from second tier to the top flight in the Netherlands. But the opportunity to work at Bayern and with Guardiola was too big for him to pass up. Guardiola himself was a new face, joining the club after a year-long sabbatical in New York, but his work at Barcelona before that was obviously well known with the 2 Champions League victories in his short stay. Ten Hag drew a lot of inspiration from those 2 years, and they were particularly helpful in helping him formulate his own playing style and philosophy. I think what's clear is that the Ten Hag vision of playing the game is slowly materialising at Old Trafford. But what we are seeing, the fruits of, is the meticulous attention to detail, and realise that it could be influenced by those formative years being in and around Guardiola during his stay at Bayern Munich. Now, track record, Guardiola is one of the most successful coaches in the history of the Champions League, having won the competition twice with Barcelona, reaching the semi-finals several times with Bayern Munich. A trophy has eluded him, however, in his time since he left Barcelona. Guardiola's City team also set a record for the most points in a Premier League season with 100 in 2017-18, and a record goals in Premier League season with 106 goals. They also broke records for the most wins with 32, most goals and most consecutive wins in a Premier League season with 18. I hate this. However, Ten Hag, as the head coach at Ajax, he led them to several domestic and European successes, relatively, including winning the Eredivisie. He also guided them to semi-finals of the Champions League in 18-19, in which they lost to Tottenham. Overall, Ten Hag established himself as a very successful and respected coach with a reputation for developing young players and building teams that play an attractive, aggressive style of football. The tactical similarities between them are quite obvious, but I think there's a Dutch heritage that runs through what Ten Hag does that, in a way goes back to the likes of Cruyff and Michels, which ultimately does loop back round to Guardiola because Guardiola was a literal disciple of Johan Cruyff. And even though he just spent 2 years under Guardiola, you can see similarities between both the managerial style and the setup. Bayern Munich at the time were heavily possession based and also heavily criticised because they weren't quite as direct as they were when they won the treble just before Guardiola turned up. So playing out from goal kicks, Ten Hag wants his team to utilise a ring of security. The centre-halves, the goalkeeper and one or both of the full-backs drop in so they can establish dominance in the build-up against an opposition block, particularly if the opposition uses a 1 or a 2 to try and break them down, both of which are very common. And it's a similar approach to that adopted by Pep. He also likes to drop one full-backs into a deeper and narrower position to aid the ring of security when playing out. This helps the fullback become a deeper playmaker when playing out, and it means that they have time and space to find vertical options on their side of the pitch, which is something that you see Pep doing with Cancelo and with Walker. This inverted fullback tactic is another example of the very obvious similarities between Pep and Ten Hag. Ten Hag also likes to stagger the midfielders, pushing one higher and having one act like a single pivot. The single pivot acts a bit like an anchor. That is the team's security in front of the defence, and it gives a bit of a focal point to it. Again, similar to how Pep uses Rodri and how Ten Hag uses Casemiro. In terms of progression, the keys, once settled in possession, are open up the passing lanes, have the time and space to make the pass, and allow the receiver to receive in an optimal manner consistently. Ten Hag's 4-2-3-1 is is closely aligned with the fluidity of Guardiola's 4-3-3. And when transitioning to a back three in possession, it looks very, very similar. The position of the fullbacks in possession is also quite similar. He employs a similar counter press to win the ball back quickly after giving away possession. And from the face of things, there's a lot that they're almost reading out of the same playbook. The Achilles heel for Pep is his tendency to overthink and overcomplicate things. I think sometimes he feels the need to be seen as a genius rather than just allowing the team to do the simple things. Speaking before the semi-final against Southampton, Pep said, "I would say the game against Chelsea made a lot of changes for one reason. How tired I saw some of the players after the game. For the trip we arrived late and I saw the players tired in training, and these ones didn't play against Chelsea. I would like to arrive against United with the average minutes in the legs quite similar. I have a few ideas though, ridiculous ones, against United, and I still didn't watch the last games. I have to see the way they play at home, and if they change something, I still have to review it. That's why I don't have a clear lineup against United." Pep does this. Pep watches tape and tape and tape and tape and tape until he finds what he perceives to be the weakness. And this is one of the key things that differentiates Pep Guardiola to, say, someone like Jose Mourinho. Jose Mourinho watches it until he knows the strengths of the opposition and how he's going to combat them. Pep will do it until he finds the weakness in the team and how he's going to exploit it. And whether or not he was joking about his reputation for tinkering in big games, and obviously sometimes that's to the detriment, City do have a history of success playing unorthodox formations and unorthodox tactics at Old Trafford, notably the semi-final back in 2020 when they played with two false nines and just battered us. Like, it was embarrassing. All in all, this is going to be a real clash of tactics. The first real big test of Erik ten Hag's career at Manchester United, that is. We have seen him go and be absolutely battered, not just by City this season, but we have seen him learn. And we've seen him learn about his players. And we think that he now knows his players quite well. I think he knows the club quite well. I think he knows the expectation of the Manchester derby, the pressure of playing against the likes of Pep Guardiola and Manchester City, who I'm hoping he knows fairly well. I think we avoid the sort of destruction that we saw when we conceded 6 at the Etihad. But has he learnt enough, and does he have the tools at his disposal to be able to turn that 6-3 destruction into any sort of win for Manchester United? If he can demonstrate a tactical way to beat Pep Guardiola and beat a team that's expected to beat us, I think I've seen enough out of Erik ten Hag to just decide that this is the man that's going to win us the next title that Manchester United win. It's the only thing I haven't seen from him yet. Every decision he's made has been flawless. The way the team are playing is brilliant. I feel close to the club. I feel like these players are deserving of all the accolades and hype that we're giving them, as is the manager. It's just that one thing, I haven't seen us win a game playing off the back foot properly yet. He's got a perfect opportunity to do that against someone that he knows extremely well here. Let's see if he can do it. Hey, thank you for watching the video. If you are new around these parts, then don't forget to subscribe. My channel is proudly supported by my community on Patreon. If you'd like to get a little bit of extra content, a Discord group, meetups, five-a-side games, weekly podcasts, behind the scenes, and even an occasional bit of transfer news as and when I get it, then for the price of a pint, you can show your appreciation for the content that we make and get some goodies for doing so as well. Check the link in the description or click the button right here. You'll also find all of my socials here too if you want to follow me on any of those platforms. Nice one.